Hi guys and welcome back. 2 years ago I gave you the Burson Soloist XGT video, and a couple of months ago I tried a slight revision of that amplifier that lowered the noise floor and offered a slightly better performance, and that's exactly what amp builders need to focus nowadays. But today I'll be trying their very best, the creme de la creme headphone amplifier and preamplifier that is called Soloist Voyager, that goes for $3,500 for the standard package or $4,200 for the deluxe package, which I'll be trying today. So yeah, this is quite high-end material, all right. I also have these bad boys on hand, the very first batch of their V7 Vivid Pro and V7 Classic Pro op amps, which I'll be trying in the Voyager. Besides driving all sorts of headphones, I also be using this one as a dedicated preamplifier in my stereo setup, and later comparing this one with the Soloist XGT 2023. We have lots of ground to cover today, so let's hit some eardrums. The Voyager looks more like an alien spaceship than like Voyager probes sent into space by NASA in 1972, getting much taller and a little bit wider compared to original Soloist XGT. I believe this is their third redesign of the case. This one ditches that cool case which was released in 2019, first seen on the conductor-free reference, but I do believe overall it looks much cooler. It's a little unusual, it's modern, so I like it. Before you ask, the orange elements that might appear as copper pieces are actually colored aluminum parts, and the same can be said about its cooling system on the back, so those are not copper heat pipes. Since the Voyager gets hot after prolonged use, I checked its case using a professional Bosch infrared thermodetector, getting the following results versus previously tested Soloist XGT 2023 and 2021 variants. While 60 degrees Celsius is quite hot and you won't be able to keep your hand on its case for a very long time, all those internal components were made to withstand much higher temperatures on a 24/7 basis of around 100 degrees Celsius, so there is no need for excessive concern. The Voyager runs hotter compared to the rest of their doings, but it's in line with what I'm getting from that IEMs I'm 23R and True-O-Matic Primavera, mostly due to their pure Class A operation. As for controls, we have a 4-pin XLR jack, we have a regular headphone jack, we have a 3.5mm microphone input, we have a big monochrome OLED screen in the middle, and of course a threaded volume wheel which offers exactly 99 steps, so there is no more guessing how much power is remaining on tap. On its back you'll find two pairs of XLR and RCA inputs, so you can easily connect up to 4 sources at once, and since it can work as a preamplifier, you'll find a pair of XLR and RCA analog outputs. A subwoofer output will come in handy not only with your stereo, as that feature can be used with headphones as well. So here we have it, guys. This is the biggest, the meanest and the hottest preamplifier and headphone amplifier that Burson Audio has ever made. Once again, this is a fully discrete, fully balanced, pure Class A headphone amplifier and preamplifier that uses 8 MOSFET power transistors, 5 max current power supplies, 6 V6 Vivid or V7 Vivid Pro discrete op amps, and their best fully analog volume implementation yet. Power-wise, we're still getting 10 juicy watts of power per channel in 60 ohms via that 4-pin XLR output, and half that number via its regular headphone jack. If you have a feeling that you saw those numbers already, then you are totally right. However, if you think that those 10 watts are sounding exactly the same coming from Soloist XGT, then you are totally wrong. Biased into pure Class A operation, the Voyager will get the upper hand when trying to control both low sensitivity planar headphones and also high impedance dynamic headphones. The V7 Vivid Pro and V7 Classic Pro op amps that were just released are using power transistors biased into pure Class A operation, and these are something else entirely. And if you want to experience the ultimate sound that Burson envisioned with the Voyager, then I strongly suggest going with the deluxe package that swaps the V6 Vivid with V7 Vivid Pro op amps. If you want to learn more about the Voyager, then I strongly suggest checking out my written review, which I left below, which contains on average about 4 times the information of this video. Sound-wise, an apple won't fall far off from the tree, and if you ever tried a Burson-made amplifier or preamplifier, then the Voyager will feel very, very familiar, having very similar traits, and everything that you liked about them will still be present here. I still feel that a more refined version of the Soloist Voyager GT is playing music for me, but this time around the treble is no longer grainy. It no longer has that Digitus effect. Everything is smoother, more organic. I have longer decay of the notes, more natural in a way. And everything is actually playing at an arm's reach. Clearly the soundstage is bigger, depth is nicer, and overall I do believe there is a change, quite a substantial one in terms of tonality of this amplifier. These powerful improvements that Burson implemented in the Voyager will have quite an impact, especially on the treble delivery. It's still quite sharp and very detailed and very extended in the treble, but there are no signs of Digitus or over sharpness or some fake treble ringing. That is no longer happening at all with the Voyager, even with the V7 Vivid Pro op amps, although V7 Classic Pro are even smoother, more organic and just oozing more naturally. Treble is something that I'm always focusing on amplifiers that I'm testing, mostly because controlling the treble energy is a little bit complicated. Not all headphone amplifiers, preamplifiers and palm amplifiers can really control that energy, and some of them are just releasing it, sounding a little bit fake in that region. There was a little bit of Digitus with the 3X GT, especially with the 2021 version. 2023 version had that lower, especially with the SP02 modules installed, but this one is basically completely brightness free. It has nothing of that. This one is so much closer to the performance of the IEMs I'm 23R. Overall, I'd say that Burson found a balance between getting a crisp, sparkly treble that extends beyond our hearing abilities, but without getting too much attention. The very first thoughts that the Voyager planted inside my head is that we have powerful, merciless, not kicking dynamics. You need to hear them to believe them. This one is incredibly powerful, especially in the bass, and not only quantity-wise, but quality-wise as well, because it's a very fast, lightning-fast sounding amplifier, and it really controls the driver of any headphone really, really nicely, be it Hyphen Susvara or Sennheiser HD800S. It really controls them really, really nicely. I never felt that the drivers are rattling, for example, with fast electronica, so that's a clear sign that it knows how to control both low sensitivity and high impedance headphones. The unstoppable force of the music has a clear road ahead with the Voyager. I don't feel that we have potholes, that something is breaking or that the sound is no longer as transparent sounding. So clearly resolution, cleanness, call it as you want, is very impressive on this one. I don't feel that I'm getting, a slightly less information through this one. I'm feeling that I'm getting exactly that information that is coming from my DAC. So this is a very transparent, very true to the source amplifier. It's not coloring the sound that much, just adds a little bit of dopamine into my bloodstream. But before telling you the whole story, we need to talk about the newest breed of discrete op amps that Burson has just unveiled. For starters, both V7 Vivid, V1s and V7 Classic Pro op amps are now coming with an aluminum heatsink all around them, so you can forever discard those horrifying pictures of melted V6 op amps in the wild. That will no longer happen with these ones. Although these are very hot to the touch. These are using actually power transistors instead of diodes and resistors, so these are hotter, that is for sure, but these won't melt, which is great actually. Sadly, you still cannot use these in portable devices, mostly because they have a height of 25 millimeters, and also these are getting quite hot, so forget about using these in something like an XD05 Pro. That won't happen with this. But of course you can use this in basically anything else, anything that is AC powered and you have the space to close the lid. Yes, you can use this pretty much anywhere. The V7 Vivid Pro are all about getting the last drop of information coming from the Voyager, or maybe from the Soloist Voyager GT, or from whatever you will be using this. They have these in dual and single configuration. So if you need single op amps, they'll have single op amps. If you need dual op amps, then these are dual op amps. You can see that you have two transistors in there. Now, sound-wise, these are all about getting those super fast transients. So these are pounding really hard on the bass. These are definitely pounding harder compared to the classics. Also, the resolution is actually pretty impressive. Very resolving sounding, a little bit more than the classics. You feel that you are getting basically the last drop of information that is coming from this amplifier or directly from your DAC. The sound is actually so detailed and pushed to the extreme. It's like I'm listening to that IEMs I'm 23R. So these are very impressive on the Voyager, and for the first time there is one amplifier that challenges the I'm 23R by IEMs in terms of transparency and resolution. So yes, this is very close to IEMs. I'd say maybe 1–2% lower compared to I'm 23R, which is actually a very big deal. This is cheaper, but still very resolving, and clearly you are getting basically everything from your DAC. Of course, you can use this in the Soloist Voyager GT, which will be responding immediately actually to the change. So clearly you'll get a little bit more resolution. The sound will be a little punchier, more alive with this. And if you want to get a very similar sound to that of the Voyager, but without changing your amplifier, then you can get this for your Soloist Voyager GT and also those SP02 silent power modules, and you are getting almost 90–95% from the Voyager, which is actually pretty impressive. V7 Classic Pro, on the other hand, will be offering you that good old transistor sound of vintage amplifiers. I'll go with a wild guess that we have MOSFET transistors right here and probably bipolar transistors in here. I'm not really sure, but they are sounding like MOSFETs. So these are slightly slower, not as impactful, not as lightning fast sounding like the V7 Vivid Pro. Everything is a little bit slower, smoother, more romantic sounding. The sound is also a little bit more natural. You can feel that the treble is rolled off just a little bit with the V7 Classic Pro. These are working really nice with classical music, with jazz, with soul, with everything that has to do with a human voice and musical instruments. Really great sounding. And also these installed in the Voyager are making the Voyager very close sounding to that IEMs I'm 23R. While resolution takes a minor hit with the V7 Classic Pro, but not that much, you can feel that these are changing the overall tonality of the Voyager, getting from ultra fast, very snappy, very resolving into a sweeter, more organic sounding unit that can work with a wider variety of loudspeakers and headphones, that's for sure. So if you like that old transistor sound that is natural, bold, powerful, then that's exactly what you'll be getting with the V7 Classic Pro. I want to be clear that V7 Vivid Pro never lacked naturalness. No, that is not the case. These are still very natural sounding, very real sounding, and the Voyager sounds really great with these. You'll be getting slightly more of that warmth, sweetness, naturalness with the V7 Classic op amps. And if you want that slightly tubey sound in a way, then you can go with the V7 Classic Pro op amps. Let's move on to dynamics and transients. And people have very different words to describe, the sound of an amplifier, dynamics in general. And with Burson-made amplifiers, if you ever experienced any of their doings, then you know that these guys are very impressive in this regard. You might want to change their tonality, maybe by swapping those stock op amps with some V7 variants, or maybe with some third-party op amps. But there is one thing that you don't want to change with Burson-made amplifiers, and those are not kicking dynamics, which are really impressive on these, but on the Voyager it's even more so. because I believe we have higher quality power on the Voyager compared to anything they've done before. It so happens that I tried plenty of, if not really most of their preamps, headphone amplifiers, DACs and power amplifiers from HA160D, HA160, then conductor, then soloist, then timekeeper, then two timekeepers with a few loudspeakers. So I have plenty of experience with these units, and I always, not always, but sometimes I wanted to change something in their tonality, so I was changing something in the chain, but I never wanted to change their dynamics, which these amplifiers were doing always really, really great. So these are powerful, very impressive. The speed is also very impressive, lightning fast sounding, and the Voyager does that incredibly well. I know not everybody seeks this kind of performance, always being bombarded by hundreds of sounds, always getting this fast and impactful sound that is sometimes even aggressive sounding. But if you don't like that, if you want to slow things a little bit, then you can swap those. Not all 6, maybe only 2 or 4 of those V7 Vivid Pro with V7 Classic Pro op amps, and that's exactly what we'll be getting. A slightly slower sound that is not that aggressive, powerful, mean, impactful, hard slamming in the bass. However, if you want that hard slamming bass, then this easily gets a 10 out of 10 in terms of dynamics. And I'll probably say these words for several times, but this is the most important skill of the Voyager, ass-kicking dynamics. You can get more power at this price, you can get a bigger soundstage at this price, you can get a deeper sound at this price, but when it comes to resolution and dynamics at this price, I believe that the Voyager plays a forever alone game, at least for now. When it comes to raw power, I'll keep it simple. It fully drives the Headphone Susvara with impressive control in the bass, with not kicking dynamics and just with a big airy soundstage, while always keeping at bay all that nasty digitus, brightness and grayness, and call it as you want. While the Soloist FreeXGT offers exactly the same power output, it was not as great when trying to control low sensitivity headphones like Susvara, for example. It worked great, that's for sure. It was amazing with the Susvara, but this one is slightly better. And also, since we are getting a slightly different tonality with the Voyager in its stock form, which is more natural, smoother, more organic sounding, then I can use a much wider variety of headphones with the Voyager, something that you need to find a system matching with the Soloist FreeXGT in its stock form, for example, something that I'm not doing with the Voyager. So not only Headphone Susvara worked really outstanding in the stock form, but also some bright tilted headphones. Sennheiser HD800S worked really great on this one. Not only in terms of tonality, but also control and smoothness and air and soundstage. This one worked better compared to Soloist FreeXGT. You can try to improve the Soloist FreeXGT, but no matter how much you try, this one provides higher quality power. And overall, the Voyager just offers you a slightly lower noise floor, a slightly higher dynamic range, and just a higher quality power. And you can feel that especially with world-class headphones, especially if you have also a world-class DAC and streamer that provides, you know, ultimate resolution for the Voyager. Now for the bad news, it doesn't really work with ultra sensitive IEMs. There is still a little bit of residual noise, but only with ultra sensitive IEMs. From my stable, I believe only 3 IEMs have shown a higher noise floor. Those were Hi-B Zeta, FioF X15, and everything else didn't really show a noise floor in the background. All those planar IEMs work just outstanding. So if you want a daily driver headphone amplifier that drives both, you know, ultra sensitive IEMs, portable headphones and desktop headphones, this is not that one, but it works incredibly well with portable and desktop headphones of all sorts, just not with ultra sensitive IEMs. There is a little bit of barely audible hiss in the background, so take that into consideration. Let's check it out in a stereo setup working as a preamplifier. So I ditched my Chord Electronics Ultima 3 preamplifier and I used this one as a preamplifier. And for starters, if you already have a DAC with a volume control, and if you think that you got a great preamplifier section, then you might be wrong, because very few DACs have actual line amplifier circuits. A volume control is not really a preamplifier. While I tried plenty of digital attenuators that have a perfect channel balance without any kind of noise, those didn't really work like dedicated line amplifier circuits that have that amazing control over loudspeakers. So clearly, a dedicated preamplifier in a high-end stereo setup will be offering you plenty of advantages versus a digital attenuator found in a DAC, for example. It so happens that the Soloist XGT was not only a great headphone amplifier, but also a great preamplifier. Voyager is really no different, with the exception that we have a clearer power right now, we have slightly more resolution, we have a bigger soundscape, so I'd say that this one is a better preamplifier as well compared to the Soloist XGT. I'm currently using a much pricier preamplifier, and that is the Chord Ultima 3 preamplifier, and to my surprise, it wasn't really a big difference between the Voyager and the Ultima 3 by Chord Electronics. I'd say that in terms of transients, cleanness, how fast everything is, these were more alike than different, really. Both were very impactful, very fast sounding, offering a really nice control over the loudspeakers. You might say that that is the job of the power amplifier, but that is not 100% true, because the preamplifier also offers lots of control over loudspeakers. What was actually different was the soundstage, the depth, imaging, and also tonality of these two. Ultima 3 was bigger sounding, it was deeper sounding, and it offered more precise imaging in a way. The sound was simply all over me, something that the Voyager was not doing so impressive. It was still airy, spacious, and big sounding, but not exactly on the level with the Chord Electronics. The second difference was in terms of tonality. This one was in a way much closer to what was coming from my DAC, from my streamer as well. Ultima 3 was adding a little bit more oomph, more thickness in the mid-range and in the bass as well. So that one is a little warmer, bolder, thicker sounding compared to the Voyager. Overall, I'd say that while it was not as spacious and big sounding and airy sounding like the Chord Ultima 3, it was never claustrophobic or upfront sounding, and you can still tune its sound and make it slightly warmer with those V7 Classic Pro op amps, and I do believe it worked great as an active preamplifier, that is for sure. Some of you already have the Soloist XGT, and you're asking right now probably a very important question: how it compares with the Voyager. First of all, I have the deluxe package with the Soloist XGT with the optional SP02 silent power modules installed in here. The only thing I don't have on this one are those brand new V7 Vivid Pro or Classic op amps on this one. So you can still a little improve this one, but I wanted to compare deluxe with deluxe package. So this one is already a great sounding headphone amplifier, and you'll be hardly pressed finding a better one at its respective price point. And its preamplifier section is actually equally impressive. It works very well, especially with the Timekeeper GT. You can form a really small, cute-looking stereo setup that won't occupy lots of space, but sound up there with some of the nicest units. Now imagine that slight grain in the treble, that S sounds which are emphasized on the Soloist XGT, those are forever gone on the Voyager. Imagine that you have slightly more resolution, slightly more transparency everywhere in the frequency response, including in the treble, but you no longer have that sharpness in the treble. The treble is not over sharpened with the Voyager. It sounds almost unbelievable, but that's exactly what you'll be getting with the Voyager versus the Soloist XGT, which still has traces of digitus and S sounds are still slightly emphasized. With the Voyager you are getting a slightly more pleasing sound that is not trying to offend you anymore, any way, with any kind of bright sounding loudspeakers or headphones. That won't happen with the Voyager. It offers you a more soothing, pleasing tonality, and everything will seem at its right place with this one. When you start playing with very low sensitivity headphones like Abysses, Hyphen Vara, DCA Stealth, DCA Expanse, Mod House, Tungsten, then you can feel that headphone drivers are no longer rattling on the Voyager. They have that precise, super fast, lightning quick, pistonic movement, you know, something like that, like a machine gun, something that is not happening so great, so impressive on the Soloist Free GT. So this is why I want to explain to you, this is higher quality power in a way, not more power, but higher quality power that controls the headphones a little nicer compared to the Soloist. And that happens not only with low sensitivity headphones, but with high impedance dynamic headphones as well. Going from low to high dynamics happens in split seconds, and although I probably said the same words about the Soloist Free GT, this one, the Voyager, does it better. And if I said that dynamics and transients is the first and most important skill, then the second one is definitely control of the drivers. And that is not happening only with headphones, but with loudspeakers as well. I'm not very much into long and boring video reviews, so I'll stop here. However, if you want to know a lot more about the Voyager, about its resolution, transparency, soundstage, imaging, all about that bass, mid-range and treble, then please check out my written review that I left below. It's considerably more comprehensive than this video. Wrapping up, there is just one single thing that is stopping me from hyping this one to Cloud 9. One minor thing that might not even bother you long term, and that is the heat that I'm getting from its bottom plate and lateral heatsinks, which is about 60 degrees Celsius. Apart from this minor drawback, I do believe that Burson is already dining with the very best names in the business. There is no denying that this one sounds better and performs better compared to anything they've done before, even if spec-wise and the power ratings are very similar with those of the Soloist Free GT. This is a kick-ass sounding headphone amplifier and preamplifier. However, you'll need to decide for yourselves if upgrading from the Soloist Free GT to the Voyager is worth the time and investment. But if you love your Free GT to death, and you want a little bit more technicalities and a slightly more natural, more organic and smoother performance, then upgrading to the Voyager seems like the right thing to do. The full might of the Voyager was revealed with those V7 Vivid Pro and V7 Classic Pro op amps, and if you already have the funds for the standard version, then I would save a little bit more and get the very best that Burson Audio has to offer. This is it. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing if you like this video. My name is Sando, and if your mood levels are very low, don't forget to hit some ear drums. Peace.